Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we will be discussing from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 2, verses 90 to 92. And the chapter is entitled Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We'll start with the invocation prayers and we will go into the class. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Haribo Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parigvacharya Stotra Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parigvacharya Stotra Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Kiri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nita Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhakti Goswami Namani. Namaste Krishna Padaya. Prabhupada Sri Guru Karan Shakti Bhakti Namani. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyabari Pashatya Deshatarani. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jairveta Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna. So as we shared earlier, we will be discussing from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 2, verses 90 through 92. I will chant the verse and I would request the devotees to please chant after me. Techa sabhavatare Krishna se karana araika shloka shuna kuvyakya khandana. Taiche Saba Avatarera Krishna se karana Araika Shloka Shuna Kuvyakya Kandana. Taiche Saba Avatarera Krishna se karana Araika Shloka Shuna Kuvyakya Kandana.
Taiche Sava Avatarera Krishna se karana Para eka shloka suna Kuvyaka Kya Kandana. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Taiche Sava Avtarena Krishna Shekarana Ar Eka Shloka Suna Kuvyakya Khandana.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to try? Okay. The synonyms. Taiche in a similar way. Sabha of the incarnations. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Say he. Karana, the cause. Ara, another. Eka, one. Shloka, verse. Suna, please hear. Kuvyakya, fallacious explanations. Kandana, refuting. Srila Prabhupada's translation. Krishna in the same way is the cause of all causes and all incarnations. Please hear another verse to defeat all misinterpretations. Verses 91 to 92. Atra sargo vishargascha stanam poshanam uttaya manvatare shanukata nirodho muktirashraya dasamasya vishuddhyartam navanam iha lakshanam varnayanti mahatmanaha shrute nartena chanjasaha. Srila Prabhupada's translation and purport. Here in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10 subjects are described. The creation of the ingredients of the cosmos, the creations of Brahma, the maintenance of the creation, special favor given to the faithful, impetuses for activity, prescribed duties for law-abiding men, a description of the incarnations of the Lord, the winding up of the creation, liberation from gross and subtle material existence, and the ultimate shelter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The 10th item is a shelter of all the others. To distinguish this ultimate shelter from the other 9 subjects, the Mahajans have described these 9 directly or indirectly through prayers or direct explanations. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. These verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, verses 1 to 2, list the 10 subject matters dealt with in the text of the Bhagavatam. Of these, the 10th is the substance, and the other 9 are categories derived from the substance. These 10 subjects are listed as follows. Sarga, the first creation by Vishnu, the bringing forth of the 5 gross material elements, the 5 objects of sense perception, the 10 senses, the mind, the intelligence, the false ego, and the total material energy or universal form. 2, Visharga, the secondary creation or the work of Brahma in producing the moving and unmoving bodies in the universe, Brahmanda. 3, Sthana, the maintenance of the universe by the personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Vishnu's function is more important and his glory greater than Brahma's and Lord Shiva's For although Brahma is the creator and Lord Shiva is the destroyer, Vishnu is the maintainer. Poshana, special care and protection for devotees by the Lord, as the king maintains his kingdom and subjects, but nevertheless gives special attention to the members of his family. So the personality of Godhead gives special care to his devotees who are souls completely surrendered to him. Uti, the urge for creation or initiative power, that is the cause of all inventions according to the necessities of time, space, and objects. Manvantara, the periods controlled by the Manus, who teach regulated principles for living beings who desire to achieve perfection in human life. The rules of Manu, as described in the Manu Samhita, guide the way to such perfection. 7. Ishanukata, scriptural information regarding the personality of Godhead, his incarnations on earth, and the activities of his devotees. Scriptures dealing with these subjects are essential for progressive human life. Nirodha, the winding up of all energies employed in creation. Such potencies are emanations from the personality of Godhead, who eternally lies in the Karana ocean. These cosmic creations, manifested with his breath, are again dissolved in due course. 9. Mukti, liberation of the conditioned souls, encaged by the gross and subtle coverings of body and mind. When freed from all material affection, the soul, giving up the gross and subtle material bodies, can attain the spiritual sky in his original spiritual body and engage in transcendental loving service to the Lord. In Vaikuntha Loka, Krishna Loka, when the soul is situated in his original constitutional position of existence, he is said to be liberated. It is possible to engage in transcendental loving service to the Lord and become Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul, even while in the material body. Ashraya, the transcendence, the summum bonum from whom everything emanates, upon whom everything rests, and in whom everything merges after annihilation. He is the source and support of all. The Ashraya is also called the Supreme Brahman, as in the Vedanta Sutra, Atato Brahma Jignasa Janmadhyasa Yata. Srimad Bhagavatam especially describes the Supreme Brahman as the Ashraya. Sri Krishna is the Ashraya, and therefore the greatest necessity of life is to study the science of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam accepts Krishna as the shelter of all manifestations because Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the ultimate source of everything, the supreme goal of life. Two different principles are to be considered herein, namely Ashraya, the object providing shelter, and Ashrita, the dependence requiring shelter. The Ashrita exists under the original principle, the Ashraya, the first 9 categories described in the first 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, from creation to liberation, including the Purusha avatars, the incarnations, the marginal energy, or the living entities, and the external energy or material world are all Ashrita. The prayers of Srimad Bhagavatam, however, aim for the Ashraya Tattva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The great souls expert in describing Srimad Bhagavatam have very diligently delineated the other 9 categories, sometimes by direct narrations and sometimes by indirect narrations such as stories. The real purpose of doing this is to know perfectly the absolute transcendence, Sri Krishna, for the entire creation, both material and spiritual, rest on the body of Sri Krishna. Om Maganatimirandhyasya Gana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmalitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, going back to the first and second verse, I have to say that this was a difficult verse for me to prepare for me to really reflect on and get some thoughts from myself before I could share with others. And I literally had to read the verses, especially the second verse, several times. What's coming? So by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, I would like to share with you key points that struck out for me. Here in the first, in verse 90, Sri Prabhupada says, Krishna is the cause of all causes. And we have heard this gazillion times. We know it, we've heard it, we speak about it, we talk about it, but do we really understand that Krishna is the cause of all causes? I would like to share some verses, quotes actually by Sri Prabhupada on this topic of cause of all causes. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 7, verse 15, the purport, Sri Prabhupada very nicely writes, and everything is from Sri Prabhupada, and there's no way that I could add anything to what Sri Prabhupada said. So I would like to share with all of you what Sri Prabhupada said. Sri Prabhupada said, everything is generated from Lord Vishnu. Everything is maintained by him. Everything is annihilated by his energy. Even the annihilation and the creation is through Krishna's energy. Even though we've told that Lord Brahma is the creator and Lord Shiva is the annihilator, it's all working through the Lord's energy. Therefore, by the actions and reactions, the energies which come from the Lord create the cosmic manifestations and dissolve the whole creation. Thus, the Lord is the cause and effect. Whatever effect we see is the interaction of his energy, and because the energy is generated from the Lord, he's both cause and effect. Simultaneously, everything is different and the same. So if we take the example of a sun, just like in the sun globe, lack of a better word, we see it, right? The sun's energy and the radiation put out, what does the sun's energy put out? The sun's energy puts out heat. That is the effect that we feel on our bodies. Similarly, Krishna's energy is the effect that we experience. He's the cause and effect. Another nice quote by Srila Prabhupada from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 8, verses 32 and 33. Srila Prabhupada says in a purport, as a fire, although existing in one place, can expand its light and heat everywhere, right? If you think about it, in one place, central, it's very centralized, but it can expand its light. When we lit a fire, we see light and we also feel heat. So the omnipotent Lord, the Supreme Personality and Godhead, although situated in his spiritual abode, expands himself everywhere, both in the material world and in the spiritual world by his various energies. Since both the cause and effect are the Supreme Lord, there is no difference between the cause and effect. Consequently, the ornaments and weapons of the Lord, being expansions of the Lord's spiritual energy, are non-different from him. There is no difference between the Lord and his energies. And if we look at this, if we were to dive a little bit more into this purport by Srila Prabhupada, we have been told, right? Krishna, the deity form, Krishna, the person, Krishna, the personification of devotional service, Krishna, the Bhagavatam, which is the literally incarnation of Krishna, and Krishna and the holy name is non-different. It's non-different. And the next, third quote by Srila Prabhupada, Canto 6, chapter 17, verse 20, Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna wants us to give up all other actions and surrender unto him. If we do so, where will the cause and effect of this material world be? There is nothing like cause and effect for the surrendered souls. This one really struck me, and I really want all of us, if we could, my humble request, if we could really pay attention to this. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in this regard that being put into this material world is like being thrown in a mine of salt. If one falls into a mine of salt, he tastes only salt wherever he goes. Similarly, this material world is full of miseries. The so-called temporary happiness of the world is also misery. But in ignorance, we cannot understand this. That is the actual position. However, when one comes to his senses, when he becomes Krishna conscious, he is no longer concerned of the various conditions of this material world. He's not concerned with happiness, distress, curses, or favors, or heavenly or hellish planets. He sees no distinction between them because he has taken to Krishna consciousness. So here, Srila Prabhupada is reminding us reminding us what is our ultimate shelter. And so nicely, Srila next verse, Ashraya, which I'm trying to get to. Somehow I'm having some internet issues and it's not, there we go. So here, Srila Prabhupada so nicely explains in this verse, the 10 subjects. The 9 subjects are the 9 cantos of Bhagavatam. The 10th subject is the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. The ultimate shelter is the 10th canto, and that is a summum bonum. Eternal truth, absolute transcendence, and the highest target and the ultimate goal, the summum bonum. And there's a reason why and this is what was coming to me when I was really reading this verse, not once, not twice, but several times, to really understand why are these 9 topics listed here. And Srila Prabhupada goes on to say that the 10th is the ultimate, right? The 10th is the ultimate. And Srila Prabhupada says that the 10th is what is the 9 categories are derived from the 10th, because the 10th is the ultimate, the summum bonum, and it's the substance. Now, if we think about it, I'm sure we all remember the instruction that we have been given by spiritual master. Don't jump the 9 cantos and go to the 10th canto. There's a reason. We have to go through the 9 categories to really understand the derivatives of the 10th canto. The 9 cantos are derived from the 10th, the substance, the ultimate goal, and we have to walk through that journey. Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the summum bonum remedy for suffering humanity in the clutches of Maya. So if we want, see, there's nothing in this world that's a quick remedy. In today's days and age, especially in the young people, right? They want everything quick fix. Push of a button, they get it. You know, they just want everything, just one push. Probably 2. If it's more than 2, they're like, my God, this is taking forever. And if we see, as Kali Yuga is progressing, as Kali Yuga is progressing, the level of patience, the level of tolerance is going down. I mean, really going down, because people don't have the time to really go from one step to another. Everybody wants it now. Everybody wants it like yesterday. But Krishna is not cheap. I remember reading a lecture transcription by Srila Prabhupada, where Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna is not cheap. We have to earn. We have to work for it. We have to, if we want to get to the ultimate goal, we have to climb the ladder. We cannot jump to the 10th step of the ladder from the bottom. We don't have springs under our feet. We don't have magnets under our feet that, or whatever, that can spring us from the ground floor to the 10th floor. No, we have to climb the steps, right? If we want to have to climb the first floor, the second floor, the third floor, the fourth floor, and go all the way to the 10th floor. We can't go from the first and jump to the 10th floor. We have to go to the steps. So here, Srila Prabhupada is reminding us, Srimad Bhagavatam is the summum bonum, the ultimate absolute truth, the remedy for suffering humanity. But we have to go through the steps, right? If we take the example of a medicine, right? Those of us who have received antibiotics, what do the doctors say? They say take it for 7 days, sometimes 10 days, no more than that, normally. And if you remember, the doctor, when they give the antibiotics, they will tell you the first dose, do 3 times a day or something like that for 3-4 days. Then after 3 days, reduce it to 2 times a day for 3 days. And then the last 2 days or 3 days or 4 days, whatever, reduce it to once a day. That's a progress. So by the 10th day, whatever bug that was in us, it's cured by the antibiotics. It's a process. The antibiotic, when we take it the first day, the first dose, it's not going to kill the infection. It is going to take at least 10 days. So here, Srila Prabhupada is reminding us, we have to go through the 9 steps, the 9 subjects before jumping to the 10th. Even though the 10th is the substance and the first 9 categories are derived from the Lord, which shows that the Lord is the cause of all causes. And what is the summum bonum of life? What is the ultimate goal of life? To be finally situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. And that is the point of Ashraya that Srila Prabhupada is so nicely reminding us. Ashraya, the ultimate shelter of a living entity is Sri Krishna. And Ashrita are the dependents who require shelter. So here Srila Prabhupada is saying, Krishna is the substance. We cannot jump the 9 chapters to get to Krishna and think we'll understand it. In fact, I have come across, I've known devotees, I've known people who've skipped the 9 cantos and jumped to the 10th, and they have a very, sad to say, they have a very fairy tale understanding of Krishna. And the reason I use the word fairy tale, because it's like a movie. It's like a fairy tale story. It's like a fable. Boy meets girl, boy fall in love with girl, boy got so many girlfriends. It becomes a fairy tale. It's a process. It's literally a process. So here, the 9 chapters are the ashrita. These 9 topics are the dependents who require shelter from the ultimate shelter, which is ashraya. If we think about going to school, none of us have ever skipped elementary school, kindergarten, elementary school, or high school to get to college. We had to go through the process. We had to go through kindergarten, we had to go through elementary school, we had to go through middle school, we had to go through high school, 12 years to get to college, which took another 4 years, 16 years in school. If you add a year of kindergarten, that's 17 years in school. We have never skipped all that. We had to go through the process step by step by step. In the same way, Srila Prabhupada is reminding us the real purpose of going through that step by step, the real purpose of really understanding that Krishna is the ultimate shelter of our lives, that he is our Ashraya Tattva, he is the absolute shelter. We have to go through the 9 steps of Srimad Bhagavatam to understand the cause and effect. You know, like right now we are in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 12, right? Where the topic is the birth of Emperor Parikshit. Even just thinking about that whole chapters that we are reading, everything is happening by the cause of the Lord. Saving Maharaj Parikshit in the womb of his mother is by the mercy of the Lord. It's his cause and effect. If not, the Lord would, if not, Maharaj Parikshit would not have been saved, right? And Maharaj Parikshit, seeing the effulgence of the Lord in the mother's womb before he was born, and after he was born, he's looking, where is that attractive person that I saw in my mother's womb? It's all by the Lord's mercy, cause and effect, everything. So here, the 9 chapters, on the 10th chapter, the 10th canto, which is the ultimate shelter, the ashraya. And very nicely, Srila Prabhupada says that the first 9 categories, the first 9 chapters, are sometimes direct narrations, or sometimes indirect narrations as such stories. And if we see that Srila Prabhupada, if we listen to Srila Prabhupada's lectures on Srimad Bhagavatam, he gives direct narrations from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he also gives indirect narrations like stories, right? And we have heard Srila Prabhupada share stories about his childhood and his upbringing and his parents and his friend and his neighbor and some leader in India at that time, and some whatever. He has always related stories and analogies to back up the evidence of the narration, of the main narration. And why is that so? To help us really understand Krishna's cause and effect, to help us to really understand that Krishna is the cause of all causes. He's the cause and effect. That is the equation. Nothing happens by our will. Even the waking up, next morning waking up is not us. The Lord decides, okay, I'm going to wake you up tomorrow morning, I'll just take you back. That in itself is showing how the Lord controls everything. Getting up in the morning is by the mercy of the Lord. It's his cause and effect. It's not that we decide, okay, tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up. We can think, but whether we wake up, we don't know. Right? going out, driving, every step there's danger. Like yesterday, I don't know, Wednesday morning when Preksha Prabhu was giving class and he was talking, I think it was Wednesday, yes. And he was speaking about my god brother, Bali Maharaj, such a big guy walking, and sometimes he's not aware and he steps on the insects. It's not like Bali Maharaj wants to step on the insect. And it's not like the insect is saying, you know what, let me walk so that this guy can come step on me. It's cause and effect. The Lord is the cause and effect. It's not pre-planned. Our lives, whatever we want to, do, we cannot think, okay, I'm going to pre-plan and then it's going to happen exactly the way it happens. If the Lord wants it to happen exactly the way we want, he'll let it happen. And if the Lord doesn't want it to happen the way he wants, then he won't let it happen. That is because, why is that so? One may ask. Because that is the only way we will learn, in my humble opinion, that we are not the controllers. The Lord decides everything. How many of us actually wanted to fall sick? The sickness just come on us. Next day, like, oh, I got a sore throat. It's not like it's not like we say, okay, sore throat come tomorrow morning, not today. It's gonna come, right? And how many of us want, like I was talking to my sister the other day, and she was so disturbed that she has borderline cholesterol, and she is, and the interesting part is, she's vegan. Took her 25 years, but she went straight from meat eating and cold, went to vegan. She eats very healthy. I mean, very healthy. And she works out like a gym fanatic. In fact, she is so skinny. She's like 140 pounds. She's almost, she's 49 years old. Very skinny, very healthy. I mean, in terms of size, because she does so much workout. How does someone who is a vegan and, works out 2 hours, literally, I'm not joking, 2 hours a day, gets borderline cholesterol? It's not like she asked for it. The body is a machine. And she was so disturbed. Oh my God. I had to really talk her through her emotions, because emotions also manifest in the physical sense and gives us sickness when we dwell too much on the negativity. So everything is done to show us that Krishna is the supreme personality. He is the supreme controller. He is the ultimate purpose of life. He is the ultimate goal of life. He is the ultimate shelter of life. And he's the cause of all causes, the cause and effect. Everything is maintained, destroyed, and created through him. It's all his energies. Everything. And here Srila Prabhupada is saying that is the real purpose. And in order for us to understand that, we have to go through the steps. And then we'll finally be able to understand the Ashraya Tattva, the Supreme Personality of God, at the ultimate shelter. Because at the end of the day, everything rests upon the Lord. Everything. We are completely dependent on the Lord. And I remember reading this part in one of Srila Prabhupada's transcription lecture. He says, to the degree that we think that we are independent, to that degree we are dependent. To the degree that we think we are independent, to that degree we are dependent. So everything we do, everything we plan, it's all dependent on the Lord. Man proposes, God disposes. Because why? He knows what we need. Just like a parent and a child. The child can say, you know, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, and we've gone through that. I want this, I want this, I want, and the parent is not going to give everything the child wants. The parent knows what the child needs, when the child needs, and what the child does not need, and why. The parent knows the child. So in this way, Krishna knows us, we are his children, and he knows what to give us, what not to give us. And if he gives us, what happens? And if he does not give us, it's to our benefit. So these were my thoughts and my realizations after reading this verse like a kill, many, many times, to really see what is the message that Srila Prabhupada is trying to tell me. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my thoughts that I got from these two verses, actually 3 verses, and would like to open up for questions, comments, takeaways, and yes, and definitely a nice discussion too. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki. Any comments, any reflections, any discussion topic, any thoughts that's coming to one's mind, please do unmute yourself and share. Yes, Mother Geeta.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances.
Accept mine, Mother.
What a powerful lecture and powerful points from Srila Prabhupada. Yes, you're right. There are many who jump to 10th canto, in a rush to kind of finish off, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and then they land up with not the right perspective. They do not really understand the 10th canto also, which they have just so it's very, very important. Your analogy about going through all the grades and then coming to college, we don't just jump to college. So that was powerful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mother Geeta. Thank you. Yes, it's and I have actually, like I said earlier, I've actually known people that have done that, and they have a very concocted understanding of Krishna consciousness. It becomes it becomes like a fantasy, a fairy tale, and they lose the whole essence and the science. Actually, they lose the essence and the science of devotional service, because Srila Prabhupada said somewhere here, I believe, I'm trying to find it somewhere here in this verse, where Srila Prabhupada says that is the science of Krishna, if I'm not, yes. So Srila Prabhupada says that Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Krishna is this Ashraya. Therefore, the necessity of life is to understand the science of Krishna. So the science of Krishna, to understand the science of Krishna, we have to go through the stages, because it is only through Krishna's devotees and his creations and his annihilations and all the 9 topics and the 9 categories will we understand the science of the Lord and how the Lord works, how the Lord manifests, how the Lord does stuff, how the Lord helps his devotees, how the Lord, what we do, what we don't do, what happens when we don't do, what happens when we do, when we shouldn't do. It's all a science. I remember my spiritual master used to always tell us that Krishna consciousness is scientific. It is not sentimentalism. And what I have come across, that when people jump to the 10th canto and skip the 9 cantos, it becomes sentimentalism. It doesn't become scientific, and then they lose the whole essence of Krishna consciousness. And that's why, I've always remembered that from my spiritual master, that Krishna consciousness is scientific. It is not sentimentalism. So thank you, Mother Geeta. Yes, really, really powerful reminder for all of us. Any other points from devotees? Any other questions? Any other clarification or any takeaway or thoughts? Any thoughts that's coming to your mind about this amazing verse? please do share. No thought is a silly thought. We always relish each other's thoughts. So please share anything that's coming to your mind, or even a takeaway would be really nice. And if there isn't, would like to remind devotees that this evening we will continue with chapter 18, the final chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita. So please do join us this evening at 6 o'clock. Again, you know, Bhagavad Gita, we finished all the 17 chapters and we are reading up to the 18th. And now Krishna is going to bring everything. There's one point that I meant to share and I forgot, and Krishna just put into my head by the mercy of the Lord. I was watching a very beautiful 2-minute video clip by Bhakti Swami, and I wish I can find it, but very nicely Bhakti Swami says that what is the purpose of life? He says to really understand that we are surrendered souls and we are to take shelter of the Lord. And then he really says, even when we speak and when we read, we focus on the Bhagavatam. He was focusing on Bhagavatam. And he says, and this really surprised me. I may have heard it. I'm sure I forgot about it, but it was a nice reminder. Bhakti Swami said that Lord Chaitanya spoke from 2 books only, the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam. And he repeated that twice. Bhakti Swami said, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only spoke on these 2 books, the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam. And he said, so we have to read these 2 books, the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, because they will help us understand and take shelter of the Supreme Lord. I have to find that video. I saw it on Facebook, and you know, it was from one sannyasi. I forgot who it was. Actually, I think it was from Bhakti Swami's disciples group on Facebook, and it was an audio clip of Maharaj. It was very nice to hear his voice speaking, you know, and when Maharaj speaks so softly yet so emphatically, like a lion, you know, he has this magic of speaking very calm and soft, but is very strong like a lion. He says, just read these 2 books, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. And because that is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke on these 2 books. So I wanted to share that nice clip that I saw from Bhakti Swami. So if there are no questions and comments, please do join us this evening for a Bhagavad Gita reading program at 6 o'clock. Until then, thank you all for joining us. Vanchakraptubhyascha kripasindhabevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.